take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for a minute. I want the crowd, I'm gon' get it. You hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, Charlie Sheen will be grinning. These ladies know that I'm sinning, and this is just the beginning. I'm closing in and not getting. There ain't no point in resisting. Living life like a dream, live it right, that's the thing. Every night got a team, I've been tied to the scene. Out on stage, here on screen. Okay, it's a dream, and I pray as a team. One day it'll be me. If I want it, then I get it. Hey, Dad, don't regret it. Push myself to the limit. If I play it, then I win it. I'm just saying, I'm just living for today.
Hello and welcome back to some more Camp Geek Squad. I finally got my laptop back, so I have, because it was under repair, so now I can use my microphone, so hope this is better audio for you all. In today's video we are going to be going over Aquaman versus Percy Jackson, who would win in a fight. Now as always, this will be broken down into physicality, technicality or skills, mentality, and power, like their power set. Now, yet again, this is two water-based characters, and I will give you options for future verses at the end of the video. Now, we're going to start off with physicality. Now, physicality can really be broken down into strength, endurance / durability, speed, combat speed, and things like that. So we're going to start off with strength. Now, you would think Aquaman's the strongest, so we're going to start off with him. Now, he's been able to lift submarines underwater quite easily, quite comfortably, and that is impressive. But yet again, things are lighter underwater. Like, you know, you can pick your dad up in water when you're like 14, you know. I say that I don't have a dad, so I don't know that. But you know what I mean. But he has been able to stagger the likes of Superman and Wonder Woman with his punches, even able to pierce Darkseid's eye with his trident. But that could be more to a feat for his trident, less than his strength. But he is still very strong. He's able to send people like his brother Orm flying through buildings with punches, break apart Black Manta's armor. So he's clearly very strong. So what about Percy Jackson? Well, what's the feats he's shown? Well, he's been shown to be able to cut through fountains, stone fountains, human-sized monsters made out of stone, trees in half with just a slice. He's been able to shake glaciers by slamming his sword down. He's been able to hold up the weight of both him, Annabeth, a car, and a giant human spider. When he was 17, at age 13, he was able to beat down a 15-foot Cyclops, who was said to be the strongest of his kind. And other Cyclops has been shown to throw huge forklifts, metal claws, and lorries around like a kid throwing their toys around with relative ease. And he was 13 when he beat down this Cyclops with very little training. He was also able to hold up the weight of the heavens and skies. While that was only for a few seconds, that is still very impressive considering the strongest Titan, Atlas, had to hold up the weight of the skies, and even a goddess Artemis struggled. So, when we're comparing those feats, I would have to say Percy Jackson wins, right? Now, I know Aquaman's very strong, and this isn't going against Aquaman, but it's just Percy Jackson's been able to, at 13 years old, beat down Cyclopses, even damage Ares, the god of war. He's been able to hold up heavy objects, and it wasn't just holding them up, it was holding them with one hand while gripping on to a ledge with another hand while getting sucked into Tartarus, because Tartarus kind of has like a mini gravitational thing. It's like a mini black hole, and he's been able to hold on to all those. He's been able to hold up the weight of the skies, you know, and I think that's more impressive than anything Aquaman has done. The holding up the skies for only 5 seconds, I think, is more impressive. So what about speed, for example? Who's faster at movement? This isn't combat speed, this is just movement. Now, in the water, they both can go supersonic. I would say Percy Jackson can go faster, but there isn't much evidence of, really how fast either of them can go. We just know they can break the sonic barrier underwater. I'm going to give it to Percy Jackson because he's more agile in the water and more versatile. So he could also walk on the water. So in terms of any water-based travel, I would say Percy Jackson, but that is close. So what about on land? Well, we know Aquaman's fast, but he doesn't have really many speed feats in terms of movement. Percy Jackson doesn't have many either. It's normally combat speed for both of them. But we do know, for example, that Percy Jackson can run 10 yards before other demigods who can see faster than humans can. Before they'd even noticed he was able to move that much. He was able to outrun Sadi, another demigod. Not a Greek or Roman demigod, I believe an Egyptian demigod. But I might be wrong. I haven't read many others other than Percy Jackson and Heroes of Olympus yet. Whilst he was weighted down. So we know he's fast. So I think Percy Jackson wins the speed. So what about combat speed? Well, Aquaman has been able to dodge blasts from lasers from Black Manta, Orm's Trident, Superman, and he's been able to keep up for a brief moment against Wonder Woman and fight. So clearly, he's fast. He is no slouch. But yet again, Percy's been proven to be faster. In his fight against Kronos, it's said that Kronos has said to have the speed of 100 swordsmen. It's like fighting 100 swordsmen when fighting Kronos, and Percy Jackson was able to keep up. Annabeth, another demigod, an elite demigod, said when Percy Jackson was fighting, all she sees is a blur. He often describes things like or like a whirlwind or different adjectives to describe how fast something is. But he reacted to point blank gunfire, and he didn't say anything about its speed, meaning he wasn't impressed. He's been able to chop down and block incoming arrows from close range and at a moment's notice. So clearly he's very fast. And just the fact that a point blank gun isn't considered fast for him to note. He's been able to fight someone who can fight so fast it's like fighting 100 swordsmen. Compared to other top demigods, not even mediocre, but top demigods, he seems like a blur. And I think that puts him above Aquaman, in my personal opinion. And also, speaking of that fight with Kronos, he was able to shake the whole of the Manhattan Bridge with a single clash. That also goes for ticking his strength. But what about durability? Is one so much more durable? Yes, Percy's quicker in the fight and stronger for what we said. But does he have the durability to stand up to any of Aquaman's attacks? Does Aquaman have the durability to stand up to Percy Jackson? Well, this is a weird one. And they can go either way, depends how you like to look at it. Aquaman, his skin is used to the depth of the oceans, which makes it thicker and denser, which makes it bulletproof. So he's bulletproof, Percy Jackson's not. He's been able to take attacks from Orm's Trident, blasts from Black Manta, as well as hits from Wonder Woman and Superman. So clearly he's a very durable person. He's got top-level durability. And then on the other hand, we've got Percy Jackson, not bulletproof, but is able to take attacks from Ares at the age of 13, has been able to fall from Greece to Tartarus, which is lower than the underworld. When you're in the underworld, it's considered a never-ending pit. That's how deep it goes. And he fell from above the underworld all the way down, which is a long, long, long drop. It is one of the longest drops I can think of. And he survived it with barely any scratches. He's also been able to survive in Tartarus, which is a place that kills you if you're not a monster, by drinking fire. A river of fire, he drank it to stay alive. And whilst there, he kept fighting monsters. And there were even these, I believe, Ares, I think they're called. Not Ares. I don't know how to say it off the top of my head. But essentially, they are these creatures which carry curses. If someone curses you with their dying breath, or just curses you, these things are made, and they each carry a curse. And if you kill them, the curse gets inflicted upon you. And he was taking 12, 20 of these down very quickly, as was Annabeth. And he had arrow pierced through his heart, broken bones, lots of other painful things that would take most people down. And then he had them all stacked upon each other. And then he had Gorgon's blood, which disintegrated from the inside, which made him drop to his knees. But he got back up because he thought that was a lame way to die. And he was able to hold up the weight of the skies, as I mentioned earlier, which is a strength and a durability feat. And I think Percy's top is better than Aquaman, but then Aquaman has very impressive feats by taking hits from superpowered beings on a regular basis. But it's not like Percy Jackson hasn't taken hits from titans who were the old gods, and even gods in Ares, and giants who were created to kill them. He has taken hits for days. So in my opinion, I think Percy Jackson is more durable. So while it might not look it, Percy physically dominates Aquaman. He wins in every single category. Speed, combat speed, strength, durability. And even in stamina, they're roughly the same, but Percy Jackson hasn't really been shown to getting out of breath much. Neither has Aquaman, so I can't really say there much there, but he wins every category. Some of it is up for debate, but some of them he wins comfortably, in my opinion. So, let's go on to power. Who has more power? So what about their powers? How do they compare against each other? Well, let's get into it, shall we? In terms of their ability to control water, not their power of the water, how powerful they are, but their ability to control water, Percy dominates this one. Aquaman's been able to show to create waves and block things, but he hasn't been shown to be intricate with his water, and we know Percy can be very intricate with his water. He can make tornadoes, he can do so much more than Aquaman can. To put it basically, Percy may not be as skilled or as intricate with his water as the likes of Katara or other waterbenders in Avatar, but he's a downsight more controlled and skilled than Aquaman. Aquaman has been shown to have a basic control of water. Powerful, but basic. So much so Percy can even control liquids that aren't even water. So what about power? Yet again, as I just said, Percy can control things that aren't even water. He's been able to beat a giant who can turn water to poison and is designed to kill his father, and Percy beat him. Percy's been able to, well, stalemate gods, like water gods. He's been able to stalemate them and even win against them and even beat river gods. He's this powerful. His water stalemates the gods, the water gods, and I think people underestimate that. He's been able to block water spears and water blasts with his water. He's been able to use his water to fight against their water, like in terms of tides and waves and things. Essentially, he is god level with his abilities, and Aquaman isn't. He is, supreme, very good and top level in terms of Atlantean, but that's just another race. Compared to the gods, he's nothing compared to Poseidon or even Troy in his universe, Percy's been shown to be on the level of gods. So Percy wins that category. What about, well, we've already covered water movement. What about the ability to talk to marine life? Well, or talk to animals. Percy Jackson wins this because he can talk to any animals and he understands them and he can tell them what to do and they all want to serve him because he's the son of Poseidon. But even if not, he can force them to his will. But he doesn't because he's a nice guy most of the time. Aquaman has only been really shown to have the ability to kind of listen to them and kind of understand what they're saying, and he can't mind control them. He can communicate. The best he can do is summon animals, or more specifically, mind control them. But it doesn't work with everyone. It's about the will of that animal. His will has to be stronger. Percy Jackson doesn't have to do that, and Percy Jackson can talk to horses and other species in the water, not just fishes, but other monsters, etc., and all the other creatures living in the water. So for that, Percy wins. And then in terms of amps, Aquaman, if he gets dry and stays away from water too long, he starts to lose his power. Now that's on an extreme scale, like it has to be a long time. It's not just like, a few hours, 24 hours. Percy doesn't get that. Percy, when he's away, is just the same as always. But when he comes in contact with water, he heals. He becomes faster and stronger as well. It's like it replenishes him. So if this fight was to take place in the water, I would quite happily say Percy Jackson dominates this easy, because not only is he more skilled and more powerful than Aquaman, the whole fight, Percy just needs to touch the water that's surrounding them to heal and boost his already dominant physical abilities beyond what they already are, which already beats Aquaman. Now, I think with a trident, Aquaman's trident, which boosts his water abilities in control and power, he might stand a better chance. But yet again, I still think, even with his trident, I think Percy still is more powerful and more intricate than Aquaman. So for this, I think Percy Jackson just wins the powers. So what about mentality? Mentality is pretty important. Well, in terms of intelligence, they're not the intelligent characters. Like, they're Annabeth or Batman, respectively. But they're not stupid either. After all, Aquaman runs Atlantis. He's the king of Atlantis. But he hasn't been shown able to do anything super intelligent. He's just shown not to be stupid. Same with Percy. I think the only thing that Percy's really shown is that he, after having his memory wiped by Hera, he is able to, and being in a place in less than 30 seconds, he's able to find out, to figure out why the certain Roman legion is disliked in the Roman demigod camp. Now, Percy's a Greek demigod, for those of you who don't know, but a bit of a spoiler, his mind was wiped, and he was sent to a Roman demigod camp. And I think that's pretty smart, like 30 seconds after being there, if not, it wasn't 15. So in terms of intelligence, Percy wins, or you can say it's a draw. Either way, Percy wins. He's been able, as I said earlier, he was able to hold up the weight of the sky and heavens. He had lots of curses, even including Gorgon's blood, and he got up because he decided that was a lame way to die. He has a pet hellhound. Don't even know how that happened. Well, obviously I did, I read the books, but you know what I mean. And there's Talia, another Greek demigod, the child of Zeus, has a shield which scares monsters away. It imposes fear. It has the face of Medusa on it. Now, not the actual face that turns you to stone, but it's meant so most monsters, and even, some more impressive monsters in demigods, all demigods get scared and frozen. Yet Percy was able to kind of break free of that and resist it, and that takes extreme amount of will. So I think Percy Jackson wins that as well. And in terms of their ability against mind control, well, none of them have really faced much mind control. But Percy Jackson, yet again, has been able to show some resistance from certain demigods and monsters in their universe. So in terms of mentality, Percy wins. So what it all comes down to now is simply skill. Percy's narrowly smarter. He's a lot more powerful and physically better than Aquaman. But there is still a chance that Aquaman can win. If he's a lot more skilled, he might have enough. Because while he loses in all those other categories, he's not miles and miles and miles behind. He's not a human fighting a demigod, He's an Atlantean fighting a demigod. So, is his skill enough to swing those disadvantages in his favour, bring the fight back in his favour? Now first, before we get on to this, we're going to talk about their weapons. Percy has water, obviously. But he also has a sword called Riptide, which is a ballpoint pen. He uncaps it and a sword comes out, and it's perfectly weighted for him. Perfectly balanced. And when it's knocked away, it appears again as a pen in his pocket. So he can never truly get disarmed. Aquaman can get disarmed. But his trident not only is strong, durable, and sharp enough to pierce Darkseid's eye and armour, it's also able to increase his power. So, if it was a trident, I'm not sure if the trident can boost everyone's power, because that would help him. That trident helps him massively in this fight, because it's strong, it's durable, so it can obviously, deal well and deal damage against Percy Jackson if it lands. But the boosting his powers up means that huge gap is no longer as huge. It's still a big gap. It's still a gap. It's not like it makes it close. But that takes away some of his disadvantages. So if he's more skilled and has this trident, it really goes in his favour. Like, it helps things go in his favour. It's not in his favour yet, but it helps. But if Percy is more skilled and is skilled enough to disarm him and take that trident and it boosts his power, then it's game over. And then Percy's sword also has a nifty trick where if he gets disarmed, he's not disarmed for long. And this is what it comes down to is, it's a lot of fight. If you disarm the other opponent, you've pretty much won. It's not a guarantee, but it's a huge, advantage in your favour. So I'm going to say this, it's dependent, so I'm going to say this is a tie, because Percy's doesn't really have a downside, but other than appearing in his pocket and being perfectly weighted, it doesn't, boost anything of his. Well, Aquaman's boosts his, but if he loses it, and Percy picks it up, he's gone. He's just gone. There's nothing he can do. Percy's just essentially got to the level of Poseidon in terms of his water ability. That's just, how it is. So what about skill? Well, Aquaman is a skilled member of the Justice League. Now, he's not as skilled as Batman or Wonder Woman, but he is still skilled, and I would say he's more skilled of a fighter than the likes of Superman. Superman's more of a powerhouse, yes, but Aquaman is more skilled. Which still being, skilled member of the Justice League, and not being above Batman and Wonder Woman is no slouch, because they are both insanely skilled. What about Percy, though? How skilled is he in his universe? Well, he's one of the most skilled swordsmen. In fact, he's the most skilled swordsman at Camp Half-Blood. Once he got his weighted sword, he was able to essentially become the second best after Luke. Within the first book, at age 13, with hardly any training. And he becomes very skilled. In fact, he probably becomes the most skilled swordsman out of all the demigods that we met in the first series, even beating Luke later on, and even Kronos, the father of the gods. And even in the Heroes of Olympus series, he fights one of the most skilled hand-to-hand combatants, the sword combatants, and yes, he gets beat, but Percy admits that he was out of shape, and he did not do too shabby, and if he kept up and continued training, he probably would have been better and beat this person. So, in terms of skill, I would say Percy Jackson is better. But then that doesn't mean Aquaman is not skilled. He is skilled combatant. I just think Percy Jackson's more skilled. And I think it's partially because of the world and how they live. Percy spent years, from age, 13, 12 to 17, 18, having to fight monsters and survive on a continuing basis for a few months each of those years, and they were in some of the toughest conditions you could be, against monsters, titans, giants, even in Tartarus and the underworld. Underworld's when he was 13, Tartarus later when he was around 17, 18. But Aquaman lives in Atlantis and has to fight a few monsters here and there, and only really when a big threat comes has to help out the Justice League. So, Percy, I think, does it on a more continuous basis, essentially. So, Percy's more skilled in terms of with their weapon. What about hand-to-hand? Well, I'm going to say Percy's probably skilled at hand-to-hand combat, but we haven't really seen him do hand-to-hand combat. It's either water or sword fighting. So, I'd say we've seen Aquaman without. So, I'm going to say Aquaman or a draw for this. Skill with the water, Percy wins. So, overall, I think Percy dominates this fight. I think angry Percy, like he was when he, bent the poison, water bended the poison of a being older than the gods, when it's not even water, it's poison, and poison bends her water against her to scare Annabeth. I think if it was that Percy, angry, he wins this fight in a few seconds. I think within a few seconds he's disarmed Aquaman and either killed him with the trident or has the trident and boosts the power. If it's in water, Percy wins within a few minutes, or within a minute, I think. Maybe 2, 3, if Aquaman's lucky. On land, I think it's a little longer, but I still think he wins. Because essentially, Percy wins most of these. And when I'm researching this, I've realised Percy is essentially the Superman of his universe. And I think he could solo the Avatar universe, and I generally think he can beat most of the Justice League. And I think he even has a shot of taking down Superman. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I know this was a bit of a rush. I don't have all my stuff, and it took me ages to narrow this down from 50 minutes to 30. So, I'm sorry about that. Next one will be slightly better done. But you can either have Zuko or Toph versus Percy Jackson, or you can have Wonder Woman or Batman versus Percy Jackson, or you can have Annabeth versus Suki. Is that her name? Sokka's girlfriend, or even Annabeth versus Sokka, or any one of the Avatar. Or we can even have Zuko versus Leo, the 2 fire people. Anyway, let me know in the comment section below which one of those, or if you have any others, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Peace.
I think something amazing's about to happen! Yes, I think that too!
You're about to get a welcome you'll never forget.
What I want is I'll take you on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for a minute. I want the crown, I'm gon' get it. You hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, Charlie Sheen will be grinning. These ladies know that I'm sinning, and this is just the beginning. I'm closing in and not getting. There ain't no point in resisting. Living life like a dream, live it right, that's the thing. Every night got a team, I've been tied to the scene. Out on stage, here on screen. Okay, it's the dream, and I pray as a team. One day it'll be me. If I want it, then I get it. Head down, I regret it. Push myself to the limit. If I play it, then I win it.